I still believe skinwalkers exist among the Navajo, down by the res. I'm a third-generation Navajo, so I've heard all about these types of creatures from my great-grandparents, actually. They used to sit around the fire and tell us all sorts of skinwalker stories back when we were little. They always said it was important that we learn about them. They're still around as far as the res is concerned. My first encounter ever took place at night. I was asleep in my room with the shades wide open. It was pitch black outside. I had just gone to bed not too long before, when suddenly, I hear this loud scream coming from far from the distance. It made me feel chills go up my spine. To describe it, it was like somebody being tortured. And what's more terrifying is it was a scream coming right outside my bedroom window. I was paralyzed with fear, and I remember I couldn't move a muscle. But it wasn't until that moment did I realize just how dark the room really was. Even though there were some streetlights shining into my room from outside, I could still hear movement coming towards my house. Something big. Fear continued to grow inside me as something approached. The movement ceased, and that's when I began to hear loud thumping around walking on the porch. I heard this big bang against my front door. That's when I knew something had gotten into the house. It, in doing so, knocked over a small table where I'd always keep mail and keys on. This was located right outside my room. Now I still could not move, and I got the feeling that whatever this thing was, it wanted me to know it was there. The thumping sound began coming towards my bedroom door, located across from my bed, then suddenly stopped once again. Then, I heard a very loud bang on the door right behind me on the wall. When I looked back, there was nothing. I was terrified at this point. The thumping started walking back towards the front door right behind my bed. That's when I heard the movement towards my bedroom window start again. The whole time, I couldn't move, even though I wanted to get out of there so badly. It felt like an eternity before the knocking really started. Right at that moment, I got the feeling like whatever this thing was, it wanted me to feel the fear of not being able to move, feeling trapped. Then I heard another loud bang on the window, as though something had jumped hard against it. And to my horror, I realized there were multiple of these things, not just one. While all this was happening, I was terrified to death, frozen. Then I heard more thumping, walking away from my bedroom and outside. That's when the moment where I heard everything just suddenly stop. It was an incredible feeling of relief. I got up out of my bed, turned on my bedroom light, expecting to see something in the room, but there was nothing there. I felt this sense of relief that whatever it was had finally left. But suddenly, I heard loud scratching noises coming from outside the window right behind me where it had just been standing. I turned around towards my window. That's when I could see something trying to break in. The window itself was shaking, as if something was trying to stick its hands in. Something from outside. That's when I began to hear this voice, calling my name, in this almost low whisper raspy noise. It sounded like a man's voice, but the tone was distorted and wrong. I couldn't tell exactly where it was coming from, even though it sounded like it was coming from this thing. It also sounded like it was coming from in my room and inside the house at the same time. I got up out of my bed, running out of the room, even though I had heard one of these things out there, and I had no idea what I would meet. I ran out of the room, running to my sister's room, not skipping a beat. Now, as I'm doing this, the thumping sound begins to walk towards my sister's door, where I thought the noise was outside of. Something began pounding its fist against the wall of the trailer, or the house right outside the hallway, and her bedroom. That's when I heard more thumping on the other side of the house as well. We were being invaded. I was expecting to see something when I opened my sister's room, but there was nothing. Now, the sound had stopped as soon as I had entered the room, although I could hear the things walking along outside the trailer. I ran to her window, looking outside the screen, and I could see one of these things walking right outside along our window, still tapping its hand along the wall, and I saw a couple more of them joining. After that night, we had never heard or seen anything else like that again. That was easily the most terrifying memory I have. Nothing happened after that until a year or so later, after I had just gotten married, moving in with my husband. We had just bought our first house and we were settling in when we began to hear strange noises from all parts of the house, and even sometimes upstairs. We'd hear things like footsteps, moving furniture, things being knocked over on a regular basis. My husband is an atheist, so he doesn't believe anything supernatural could be going on. Assumed I was just hearing things. One day, as we're both sitting and talking in the living room that my husband built, there was this loud bang coming from upstairs. It sounded like somebody dropped a large metal vase. I went up to see what it was while my husband stayed downstairs. I got up to the top of the stairs and nothing was there. So I turned around to go back down, and as I did, this loud crash occurred just outside our house. Both my husband and I run down and we look outside, but are unsuccessful in seeing anything. The next night, my husband was talking on the phone in our living room while I was upstairs cleaning the bathroom when we all heard an audible knock on the front door. The only problem is that nobody had knocked. My husband heard it clearly, so it's not like one of us was crazy. We both walk over to the door, expecting somebody to be standing there, but nothing. Another night, my husband went upstairs to take a nap, while I stayed downstairs to watch TV. He's going up the stairs, looks back at me, and says, "I love you," goes upstairs into our bedroom, and begins to take a nap. After a short amount of time, I heard him calling my name in an urgent tone of voice. My husband is pretty much never urgent, so I knew something was wrong. He gets up there and he's wide-eyed. He said that he was laying there, and he looked over and saw me come in the room and stand at the front of the bed. Apparently, I had black eyes and a distorted face, and my skin looked dead. That's when he began screaming and urgently asking for me. And after that, this fake me vanished in the air. We didn't know what to make of these experiences. At first, I would just assume it was a poltergeist, but something more is here. After a while, we got used to these strange sounds coming from our house and stuff being knocked over. I'm beginning to think there's an angry Skinwalker spirit that is following me and has attached itself to me. What's your take on all of this? Even though I grew up Navajo, I never participated in much of our culture, rituals, or religions. I've always kind of just done my own thing, but now I feel like I've somehow made myself a target. Do you know how to get rid of something like this without it hurting somebody? I have a baby now. I don't want anything messing with her. Thank you for your time. Skinwalkers, I believe, have been on this earth in one form or another for many, many years. Skinwalkers, as you know, are evil beings that take the form of a man or an animal. They are believed to be able to shapeshift into other creatures, like wolves or coyotes. They possess powers beyond those of normal men and animals, including the abilities to run at speeds greater than a normal man. Skinwalkers are believed to cause mischief, sickness, and death amongst their victims. In order to become one must go through an initiation ritual that requires great strength and determination. The first test is to kill the person who taught you how to perform the ritual. The next test is to kill your close family members, sometimes including but not limited to parents and siblings. I firmly suspect that my grandfather, now past, was indeed a Navajo witch, a skinwalker. My grandmother would tell me all sorts of terrifying stories. Fortunately for me, he passed before I was born, and he died of an unknown illness. But I heard from family and my grandmother that he was a very wicked man. Abusive, cruel, sadistic. My grandmother explained to me that he ultimately loved pain, giving and taking. She believes that's probably one of the biggest factors why he got involved in black magic and shapeshifting. He would often leave at night, be gone for days, come back with pelts dirty, covered in filth and animal blood, doing and acting crazy ways. One time, my grandmother told me he had apparently killed off several livestock and eaten them. He had been shot at by farmers and even nearly killed. The man was reckless, dangerous, and a threat to our family. I can't help but wonder if the way he died was as mysterious as everybody says, or maybe the black magic he so practiced ended up ending his life. Maybe somebody took him out. I'll never know. But I guess in some twisted sense, I'm glad I was never around to actually meet him. This is my story. It was around 7 p.m. I was 16. I had a bag of M&Ms in my hand, walking the 2 miles to the store that was here on the reservation. The store was only around a mile from my house, well, at least the point I was in my walk. It was dark, and there were no streetlights on this road, which I guess is fairly common. I began walking back home after I got to the store and got more snacks and a Mountain Dew. I began walking when I noticed something moving towards me, only about 100 feet away. I thought to myself, maybe it's a dog, but this thing kept getting closer, and that's when I realized it was not a normal animal. It was this tall, skinny man walking on 2 legs like normal, but it looked more like a dog. At this point, I thought about running, but I could tell it was a creature and not a man. This thing had really long arms, like a monkey. By the time this creature got around me and looked at me as it came, it stopped. Its eyes were pitch black and pupils, looking like that of a snake. I was in total shock and I ran as fast as I could. This thing or person did not follow me. I told my mother and brother about what I saw. They didn't believe me. As I got older, I began to tell more people about it, but still, nobody believed my story. Around 2 years ago, I told my boss at work, who is full-blooded Navajo. He is the only one, other than my other family, who believed me. I told him that I would not mind if he wanted me to talk about it. He did, said that it was what he would call a skinwalker. Since then, we become good friends outside of work and discuss paranormal things often. Skinwalkers, I learned, are shape-shifting beings. They are generally all around the reservation and act as guardians, although I'm not too sure on that last part. They feed on fear and have been known to get inside people's homes at night. How terrifying. I have never experienced seeing a skinwalker again, but I firmly now believe they exist after seeing one with my own eyes.